Welcome to Mastery in the Making, a fresh new podcast by Le Cordon Bleu Australia. Join us as we deep dive into the minds of industry experts, entrepreneurs, and the voices of Le Cordon Bleu, the world's leading education provider in culinary arts and hospitality management. From expert lecturers to our incredible students and alumni, we'll uncover the secrets, stories, and skills that make this industry a world of endless possibilities. So, if you're a seasoned chef, aspiring hotelier, or simply want to keep your finger on the pulse, consider this your ultimate guide to culinary and business innovation. I'm your host, Stephanie Valudos, and welcome to Mastery in the Making. Welcome back to another episode of Mastery in the Making. Today we're talking all things sweet with a Le Cordon Bleu Sydney graduate turned superstar pâtissière. Mary George graduated from a Diplôme de Pâtisserie in 2016 and has since done Le Cordon Bleu proud with a multitude of accolades to her name. She now finds herself working in New York as the Executive Pastry Sous Chef at Michelin-starred restaurant Daniel. Michelle joins us now from Sydney. Hello, Michelle, and welcome to the podcast. What's it like being back on home soil after so long?
Yeah, it's been great, honestly. Obviously, coming back was a little bit of a work trip as well as, just seeing family. It's been a little bit of time since I've actually come back to Australia. So it's obviously been great, seeing family, seeing all my loved ones, friends, as well as obviously just coming back to a more calm, Sydney state. It's very different, honestly, compared to New York City. It's just nice to have a little bit of a relaxing time. So I've really missed being back home.
Oh, that's lovely. And I understand you did a little bit of a masterclass with our students in Sydney recently. What was it like being back in the classroom?
It was a very full circle moment for me, I would say. It was so surreal just to be able to actually be behind the demo kitchen was actually such a crazy experience, because I remember when I was at Le Cordon Bleu and I used to watch my demonstrations and with the teachers, I used to always think oh, I hope one day I get to be behind there, or I get to be doing something for the college. And then just to be back there and obviously having these students with me and having some assistants and being able to showcase Michelin style desserts to the future generation of Le Cordon Bleu was just such an exciting moment. And it just felt that I just felt very privileged, obviously, to be back there and obviously sharing my knowledge. And yeah, it was really exciting, obviously, being back.
Yeah, it must have brought back some very fond memories of
Oh,
your time
absolutely.
with us. What was your favourite thing
Absolutely.
about studying patisserie at Le Cordon Bleu?
I would say, honestly, well, on the variety, I just find that the Le Cordon Bleu program has just got such a big variety, and I find that everything that you do in the program is such a highly skilled base. Pretty much the criteria is so advanced compared to other programs. And then I just honestly I miss the teachers more than anything else. I just really miss the dynamic that I had with the teachers, and I honestly felt like one big Le Cordon Bleu family. And I mean, because I did so many extracurricular things there and just obviously be involved in multiple things within the college, it's just I obviously got to know the teachers much more closer and even understand them and obviously learn from them one-on-one. And they were just such great mentors to me while I was studying there. So I just feel like I just had such a valuable experience while I was there.
Yeah. Now, you graduated in 2016 from patisserie,
Yeah.
and you're now actually living and working in New York as an executive pastry sous chef. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so at the moment, so I'm working at Restaurant Danielle, and that's a two Michelin star French restaurant, and it's located in Manhattan in New York City. And so pretty much I got the position about a year and a half ago. So I pretty much moved to New York City. I got offered the position. I'm working currently under my executive chef, Sean Velez. And currently, with both him and I, we oversee both the Restaurant Danielle production as well as we manage the Tiffany and Co. flagship location as well, which is also located in New York City. So currently, between those two restaurant locations, I have about a team of 15 people with me, all in patisserie, and we pretty much oversee the entire pastry production. And it's been amazing. Like, I think being in a Michelin style environment was very new to me, obviously, because I've come straight from Australia. And it's been a game changer, honestly. So I feel like I've just come back almost like a different human being after it, because it's hard to even explain, honestly, the amount of knowledge that you gain from this, the kind of person that you end up becoming, like, and being an executive sous chef and managing so many different people in the kitchen. And people obviously are super passionate and super driven because they're at such a high-end fine dining restaurant. It's really interesting, obviously, to manage those people and actually understand different relationships that you have with everyone. So it's been a big challenge for me, and I've been loving it. And I really feel like I've meshed very well into that environment, and I think I've found my calling a little bit. So it's been going great for me over there.
Tiffany and Co. That's such a luxurious brand. What tell me a little bit about what you do for them exactly?
Yep. So at the moment, so Danielle Ballard is the owner of Restaurant Danielle. So he's actually owns the restaurant at the Tiffany and Co. flagship location that just actually reopened in New York City, on Fifth Avenue. And so he owns now a patisserie, or I guess a high tea location, which is called Blue Box Cafe. And that is located on the top floor of the flagship location. So at the moment, they do pretty much like a high tea venue. So your breakfast at Tiffany's kind of style. It's a very like tourist attraction kind of restaurant. It's so beautiful inside. I've actually dined there myself. So it's definitely a very exciting experience to be able to be in there. You're covered completely in the Tiffany and Co colors. And so they do offer a full high tea selection as well as a la carte desserts to choose from. And then they also have their general menu as well, like the savory side of everything. So at the moment, from the Danielle location, we actually do the entire production for that. So we actually distribute our all of our products directly to the location because they're actually very close to each other. So we actually do everything. So nothing is actually like produced for the patisserie end on site at the Tiffany location. We actually do everything, but within my team itself. So I don't actually have like a separated team. It's just the 15 cooks that I have and myself and two other sous chefs, as well as my executive chef. We pretty much integrate all of the Tiffany patisserie products into our regular Restaurant Danielle program as well.
Wow. So what kind of things are you actually making? Are there lots of, Tiffany blue cakes and that sort of stuff going out?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually got some very custom made things just for Tiffany and Co. So we've actually got these like birthday style celebration cakes, and they're actually like we got them like molded specifically, and they've got like the actual chains of the Tiffany and Co
Wow.
on there. So and then we spray them in Tiffany blue as well, and they're like an entremet style dessert. We also have a selection for the high tea stand. So we do like a variety of things. We do like little petit gâteaux, we do choux pastry, we do like say like eclairs, we offer macarons, we do just different kinds of things like that. And then when it comes to a la carte desserts, we have about 5 things on the menu, and that can range. Usually, we try to do something that is obviously like boutique style. So we could do, and we always like to, because we are a French restaurant, we always are focusing on French classics, but reinventing them. So we're always doing things like hazelnut flavors. We like to work with like pistachio, like really classic French cooking and flavors, but really obviously showcasing them in a modern way. So yeah, that's pretty much what we're doing at the moment.
Yum. I think I'm going to have to put that on my bucket list of places to go.
Absolutely. It's definitely such an amazing experience to go there because it's obviously like Fifth Avenue in New York City is such a high-end area to be in and to be surrounded by obviously all of the luxury brands around Tiffany and Co. And then when you're going into the actual building, you are going through the entire jewelry section of the building through multiple levels. And then by the time you actually get to the cafe, it's just a very luxurious experience, and you really do feel like you are at like that breakfast at Tiffany's kind of style. So,
Yeah.
and
Wow.
myself being there and dining there, I definitely suggest it is a great place to go to.
Yeah. Beautiful. Oh,
Yeah.
sounds so good. What sort of people are dining there at Tiffany and Co?
I would say it's a bit of a mixture of people. So you do obviously get the people that are actually buying things at location. And yeah, so I guess you have your millionaires and all those kinds of people. But yeah, so you do have that end of the spectrum. However, it's honestly more of a tourist attraction spot. I find it's something that is very Instagrammable, and it's something like there's a lot of locations around the world. So Danielle Boulard owns this location, but there are many locations outside of the world. So I find they all like to look quite similar in regards to like that Tiffany blue kind of aspect. So it's a very like, you want to take photos of things, you want to post it on Instagram, do like a whole TikTok vlog, something like that. So I think I think it works well for that kind of dynamic. So yeah, and then usually the desserts itself, I mean, they're not excessively expensive. Like it's not something like Tiffany and Co prices or something like that to be able to do it, but it's definitely still on the luxurious side of a patisserie product. And then we also obviously like for the actual guests who are buying things or customers at the flagship location, we actually make like a selection of chocolates for them. So, like if customers are spending a lot of money at the location, we do like to give them treats. So that's usually something that I focus on as well. And I could be doing like rochers or mendiants or things like this. So that they're actually getting some like sweet treats as well while they are shopping. So it's definitely a full experience for the customers at Tiffany & Co. So it's really exciting. And even like they have a lot of fashion shows there as well. So we like to even do like high-end banquets there as well. So they might have a big party and then we might actually be providing the dessert for that. So they actually do things like that as well there. So it's pretty exciting what they do.
You've come a very long way since, first walking through those doors at Le Cordon Bleu all those years ago. Do you think that the institution has accelerated your career in any way?
I believe that they have honestly really taught me so much. I think through the teacher's experience and just making me so comfortable with what I do has really excelled me because, like, say the teachers, I developed such great relationships with all of them, and they really did push me. And they obviously saw that I was super passionate about what I was doing, and I was showing that I was growing and gaining this skill set. And I was really trying to obviously take in everything that they were giving me. I wasn't always the most advanced or anything like that, but I was very persistent about always being like at the top of everything. And I was like, the first time I made an entremet, it completely melted in my examination. But like things are not going to always work out perfectly, and I kept persisting, and then you end up getting more and more out of it. And I'm always asking teachers like, "Hey, what did I do wrong? Like, how can I fix it? Tell me the science behind this. Like, how can I fix this for next time?" So I find even those little bits of information and them giving me the fundamentals and like the actual science of how to problem solve is something that has really pushed me as a chef because currently in my kitchen and with my staff, when things are going wrong on a daily basis, and that's something very normal in the chef world and having to think on your feet, I think it's so important to actually know what you're doing and why you are doing it. So if something goes wrong, it's like, hey, this is how you're going to fix it. And this is like the problem solving solution. So I really do enjoy obviously knowing those things and really studying and really understanding what I'm doing so I know how to fix situations. And that's why I just love training my staff. I think one of my favorite things to do in the kitchen is to obviously train the future generation and really make sure that they are becoming an all-rounded chef and they're not just learning something and not knowing like the full experience from something. So that's something super important to me. And I think through Le Cordon Bleu and having those relationships with my teachers has led me to the chef that I am today.
Yeah. From that little girl who pulled out that little flyer
Yeah.
from the magazine to
Yeah.
now.
It was a great moment, honestly. I remember like even having it on the wall and saying like I wrote an arrow and I just said, I'm going here. And then I just never forget that moment. And actually my mum still has it in her house. Like she still
Oh,
kept it there just to even show like, like where it's gone. And like I just remember being at that age and just realizing the passion that I found for something that can be so special and just being still in this industry and now being an executive has just changed things so much. And it's just become, like I was saying earlier, like a full circle moment. And you really just do appreciate how important and how special patisserie really is and like how interesting the chef world can be because you're just constantly growing as a chef, and it just is such an innovative industry to be in. So I love what I do.
Between your experiences working in restaurants in Sydney and New York, what would you say the key difference is working in a Michelin-starred restaurant?
Pretty much with the difference, like obviously we don't have Michelin stars in Australia, but we have chef hats. And I've worked in those environments as well. It's very similar in the sense of the actual food style itself. I believe that we have an amazing program of food in Australia. Like you go to three-hatted restaurants and the quality is absolutely amazing. I find the actual biggest difference when it comes to the difference between a Michelin star and a chef hat is actually the discipline in the kitchen. I
Mm.
find it's such a high pressured environment being in Michelin itself because to have a Michelin star requires so much work, so many reviews. You're constantly like being like you're always being checked all the time. You don't know when a food critic is going to come. You have to be spot on every single day. And being one Michelin, there's a lot of locations that are one Michelin, so it's a little, I wouldn't say easier, but it's a little bit not as stressful in the sense of the standard of the restaurant. However, when you do obviously move up in stars, so two Michelin star locations, you have to be perfect every single day. And that's something that I've developed with the team as well. So it's very black and white. If something isn't to the standard of the location, we can't use it. And my cooks know that it's themselves. So we strive for perfection every single day. We really like to make sure that we're consistent. And I think consistency is the biggest key in Michelin based restaurants because every guest wants has booked this reservation for months, and they're waiting on those lists to just come and dine with us and have this surreal experience with us. So I believe that like Michelin restaurants really do have that experience and that wow factor. And not just from us, but also from the service itself. Like I've watched how Michelin restaurants run the service, and it's such an amazing experience. Like these guests really are wowed. We like to be really personal with the guests. We try to hear what they're saying. We try to know what they like. We want to be accommodating to them. We want them to remember our restaurant forever. And especially being as a pastry chef, we are the last course of the night. So I find that like even just that, we need to leave a good note for them and we need to make sure it's memorable because you can have amazing food and then if you don't have a great dessert, you definitely do remember it. So that's something that puts a lot of pressure on us to make sure that it's a full experience. And then even with Michelin as well in our restaurant, we do a lot of like complimentary things as well. So we'll do like a petit four program and that's given to the guests after they've ordered desserts. We're actually famous for like Danielle Bullard's Madeleines, for example. So we actually serve them at the end of the night. And then we also have a chocolate program that we give them as well at the end of the night too. So that's all given just for the experience itself, just to make sure that they're leaving and they're happy and it really was an impactful night. And then we even also give them like a little, like say a cannelé as like a giveaway. And that's just something that they can take home just to have a little sweet treat as well. So I find just Michelin is all about really having that customer experience as well as such a disciplined environment in the back of house as well. I think maintaining that discipline ensures that we're going to stay consistent with the experience every single day.
Mm-hmm. So does that mean someone is inspecting every single plate before it eventually goes out to the customer?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. So, I mean, we're all pretty spread out. We all have our different tasks. Like we have a service team as well. So I'm the person who actually does like the morning production and I oversee all the actual making of everything. And then we have a team that comes in at night and they focus on just service. So that's pretty much going out throughout the whole night up until say 2 o'clock in the morning until service is over. And then my sous chef will be watching that completely. Like no one can touch those plates. No one can do anything. Like you have to watch every single thing and they have to be the exact same the entire time.
Mhm.
Otherwise, we always like to have the mentality that we don't know who's sitting in that dining room, and we need to make sure, and not even just that, it's the fact that like I speak to guests sometimes and they're like, I just want to get a reservation at Restaurant Danielle. I just like this might be once a year thing that you get to eat at this restaurant. So we need to make sure that that experience is going to be blowing their mind. So
Yeah.
and that's only translated through the experience and through the
Mm-hmm.
food. So
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot of pressure, but we always make sure we can maintain that.
Yeah. Would you say there's a little
Yeah.
correlation between that kind of service and perhaps being in the classroom at Le Cordon Bleu? Like, did you find that, if you put up a dish to your chef and he wasn't happy with it, would he then send you back to do it again?
Yeah.
What's it like?
Oh, yeah. Well, absolutely. I still remember my experiences very well at Le Cordon Bleu, and I just remember the feeling of like taking up my dish to the chef and just that feeling of nervousness. It was just crazy. And then when he's not happy with it, I was absolutely gutted. Like I did not know how to react, and I just was like, how can I fix this? And obviously the teacher is not too like like he doesn't make it too bad for you. Like he's going to explain things that are right and wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But at the end of the day, the teachers are there to give you the feedback. So anytime things didn't work out, like I was learning the entire time, and obviously I had never done it before. So when I was making things and it wasn't 100%, my teacher would be like, hey, this is what you need to do for next time. Try this, try
Mm-hmm.
that. It was always constructive criticism that we did get from the teachers. It was something that we were meant to build upon.
Mm-hmm.
It was never just like, hey, you did this wrong, move on. They've always made sure that every single student is getting what they want out of the program and that everyone is consistent as well. So I found that even if we were all at different stages of our career and learning and journey in patisserie, every single person still had a consistent product. And that's because the teacher ensured that the standard is going to be the same regardless. We're not going to make sure that one student does really well and the other student who maybe is struggling a little bit doesn't have to produce something as nice. Like the teachers really go out of their way to make sure that everyone is consistent. And like I've always said, consistency is key, even to what I do today. So I think that's honestly what always saves a chef is making sure that you are the same all the time. And that's something super important.
Mm-hmm. Goodness me, 2 a.m. is when you clock off. So tell me a little bit about the difference, I guess, between New York and Australia. Are people coming out to dine later than maybe what they would in Australia?
Like in regards to New York City itself, like there's always that term, like the city that never sleeps. And I think it definitely does live up to that. I think it's a place where people go and it's alive, honestly. Like it's just people are just on the go constantly. People go there because they want something out of that city, and everyone is trying to get the best out of every experience. Any people that I come across in that city, everyone is pushing, everyone's trying to succeed. It's just that dynamic within the city. And then I find in the fine dining is such a massive part of what New York City is, which is what makes it such a one-off place to travel to and to work at. So having like such a big amount of Michelin-based restaurants just in that one city is honestly insane. So I find there is that culture within the work, like within the kitchens itself, that you might do longer hours and things like that. So because it's such a big fine dining scene in the city, and it is something like the city could be open all night. So I find that most guests might be dining pretty late on in the night, especially being a pastry chef. We do tend to be the ones that do leave later on in the night because we are the people that are plating up last. So I do find sometimes, we will have guests that will be coming in pretty late and things like that. But I mean, the standards of Michelin is very different to Australia because there's just so much commitment, there's so much responsibility to make sure that things are absolutely perfect. So I find we're actually pretty okay with doing those hours. It's definitely been a big adjustment to obviously working bigger hours and things like that, but I find it's very rewarding in the end of it. So it's definitely a different work culture to Australia. I found there might be a little bit more work-life balance working in Australia. I find the dynamic is a little bit different with how Australians are and the expectations that come from work. And then I find in New York City or America in general, that New York, everyone's kind of hustling in a certain sense. So everyone's kind of just like go, go, go. Like I'm here to work and go home and that's it. Like so it's a very different lifestyle for sure.
That's crazy. So what time people would go to sleep really late then? I feel like, because
Yeah,
I mean, we
absolutely.
go to bed at like 8 p.m.
Yeah, I have most of my chefs, like my sous chef that works service, she might like they might be going to bed by like 3 o'clock at night, 4 o'clock at night. Like
Wow.
it's a normal thing. But see, like me myself, like I'm doing like the mornings, so it's like straight production. So it's very normal to actual general patisseries in Sydney. Like you would be doing that morning shift, and you
Mm.
might be finishing sometime throughout the day. So,
Yeah.
but as a manager, it's naturally expected that the success of the restaurant comes between me and my executive chef. So
Hmm.
it's so important that we are holding that dynamic all the time. So if it's required for me to be there longer to make sure everything is perfect, I will do that. And I would much rather be there than not be there
Hmm.
just because of the amount of like care that I have for the team and like I have a lot of pride and ownership of the program. So I find like and that's something that's within my whole team. Everyone kind of has a similar culture in that sense. It's not just a job for us, it's
Hmm.
something that we live for. So it's just everyone understands that there's that dynamic there. It's very hard to describe, but
Hmm.
it's definitely a good dynamic that we have.
Yeah, we can tell how passionate you are for the industry. So it
Yeah.
definitely shows on your face.
Ah, good. I'm glad.
Even though pastry is in your title, I understand you're not actually limited to just pastry. Can you explain a
Yeah.
little bit about your job title exactly, what it involves? I know you do a lot with chocolate as well. So tell us a little
Yeah.
bit about the opportunities under that pastry umbrella.
Yeah, so pretty much when I went to Restaurant Danielle, they knew that I did have a very high background in chocolate work specifically. And that's because, like, through my experience in Australia and employment, as well as some international competition experience when I was in World Skills Australia while I was still studying in Le Cordon Bleu, I ended up doing a lot of chocolate work through that, like building showpieces and, doing bonbons and things like that. So that kind of advanced my skill set quite quickly. And then I ended up working for Adora Handmade Chocolates for about 3 to 4 years, and that was purely chocolate based. So that really pushed me and my skill set. And then once I went to Restaurant Danielle, they had a chocolate program there as well, and they wanted to advance that. So they knew obviously bringing me on that I could develop that program and just obviously excel in that. So yeah, since I've been back there, we've actually really amped up the chocolate program. It's become huge actually, and we're doing so many different products at the moment, as well as with Tiffany and Co. So that's really like pushed us outside of the box compared to other Michelin restaurants as well, because our program is very different compared to other Michelin restaurants. So as well as chocolate work, I also focus on like confectionery too, and that's also something that I've trained a lot in before I came to the Michelin restaurant. So that's something that I feel very comfortable with as well. So I find having both like a patisserie and a confectionery and chocolate background has really become like my niche. And it's something that obviously not many pastry chefs always lean towards. So it's nice to obviously have those extra skills. And that's also something that I was able to do within Le Cordon Bleu itself, because obviously doing like having that exposure to competitions and having the teachers from Le Cordon Bleu put me in those competitions obviously resolved in pretty much me learning those skill sets and realizing that I can move towards that route of like chocolate and confectionery, not just your standard patisserie route. So that's obviously really advanced me in my skill set in my career. So it's nice to obviously break things up and not just focus on just patisserie itself. So it's nice to obviously have that little bit of chocolate background and sugar background as well.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of competitions and accolades, you've got quite the impressive list of awards to your name. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah. So pretty much while I was at Le Cordon Bleu, the ex-head teacher, Andre Sanderson, at the Sydney campus, he reached out to me obviously because I mean when I was at Le Cordon Bleu, I was definitely one of the students that was very eager to try and get myself out there. I was always talking to teachers. I was always showing that I was really passionate about it. And he obviously told me like, hey, we have a world skills competition. Would you like to, represent just the Sydney area. So I did that competition and I trained with him every day for like 2 weeks for that. And you had to win that to move on to the nationals. You had to win the nationals to move on to the internationals. And then through that, through the pre-qualifications, I got selected to represent Australia in Abu Dhabi in 2017. So I was actually still studying in the process of all of this and graduating. So I was still completely brand new to the industry. However, I was training to represent Australia at the same time with my studies. So I had a team of Andre, I had other Le Cordon Bleu teachers. I had so many different mentors around me at that time, just obviously preparing me for such a big international competition and to be on the world stage. So that was amazing. And then through that competition, I was ranked number one in Australia from that. So that was an amazing accolade to receive at my age because I think I was about 21 at the time when I received that.
Wow.
So that's been a pretty amazing thing to experience. And I always say like if anyone gets their hands on doing a competition or having that exposure, I like you should definitely do it because it definitely pushes young people to like get out of their comfort zone and to excel in like high end skills. So that was an amazing thing. And then through that, another teacher from the Cordon Bleu, Angelo Roche, a patisserie teacher, he also wanted me to partner up with him and go to Malaysia for a world chefs competition in patisserie, which was amazing as well. And we actually made it into the top five in the world. So that was amazing because obviously to not just be solo, but actually go with such a professional and obviously help him with that. And like we were working as a team and just the two of us. I've always been used to doing very solo competition work. So having someone with such a strong background was just a totally different experience. And that competition was a very open age kind of thing. So it was obviously you're versing many high-end, super skilled people from with years of experience. And I was still quite new to the industry. So that was amazing just to be able to do that. And then just trying to think of any. And then I've also done just smaller competitions like throughout Melbourne as well, and just like fine food expos, things like that. But those two are my major international competitions. And then thankfully through those, I was actually able to go and train in France as well and work at a Michelin restaurant just to do my training. So I've honestly had such a great exposure just through that competition experience. So it's been great.
Yeah, you've certainly done Le Cordon Bleu proud, that's for sure. Now,
Yeah.
tell me a little bit about how you actually got into patisserie because I know art and craft was a big part of that. So, can you tell us
Yeah.
how art actually sort of influenced you to get into the field?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, what actually made me a pastry chef was I was actually 13 years old when I knew I wanted to be a pastry chef. And I actually saw an advertisement in a magazine for Le Cordon Bleu at 13. And I pulled the paper out and I stuck it on the wall and I told my mum I want to go there. And she's like, you're still too young, you're still a baby. So I was like, okay. And she's like, you have to get through high school and obviously do all of that. So I waited. And then throughout high school, I was studying art at the same time. So I was really enjoying the like visual art aspects of everything. I found that obviously that was something that I was quite skilled in and just obviously using my hands, just obviously being as creative as possible. I realized that was kind of where my direction was going. And then obviously I knew I was training to want to become a pastry chef. So whilst I was in high school, I was actually reaching out to different restaurants like Benelong and Key Restaurant by Peter Gilman. I was just asking if I can go work with them. And I used to work with Vincent Gadan from Patisse as well. So I was spending all my weekends. I was doing random MasterChef shows. I was working like food and wine shows while I was still studying in high school. And then the moment that I turned 18, I also actually got accepted into art school as well. So I actually wanted to have that as like my second option kind of thing because I knew if I wasn't going to do that, I would love to do something in art. And my actual specialty was sculpture work. So that was something that I wanted to combine when I actually started doing patisserie was try and utilize the elements of art into my patisserie. which is something that I do till today. It's something that I like to work with. I'm very I have a good understanding of visual art, the history of art, and playing around with the concept of it itself. So being able to utilize that into my patisserie work and obviously having the skill set that I have in patisserie has become a great balance between the two.
Yeah. So to this day, are you still sketching out every creation before you actually turn it into something edible?
Yeah, yeah. So I'm still, I must say, I am a little bit busier than I used to be. So I find I don't have all the time to be doing too many drawings these days. I find that I'm quite visual mentally now. So I can usually tend to picture the plate in my head. I usually can visualize the colors. That's something that I really like to focus on is visually like the shapes, the colors, as well as if I do want to draw sketches, like I still do that because I'm quite a visual person. So I find that I still love to do things like that, and that's something really important to me. But yeah, it's that's usually kind of how I do everything.
Yeah, cool. And in your role at Restaurant Danielle, what sort of creative freedom do you have? Like, are you putting together their menus?
Yeah, so at the moment, so between because I'm the executive sous chef, I also have an executive chef as well. So me and him are pretty much partnered up on the program, and we both oversee the entire production for the restaurant. So basically, everything in like Michelin is quite a collaborative program. So I find like my chef will give ideas, I'll give ideas, and we kind of come up with thoughts. He'll pass on this, I'll pass on that, and then we end up starting like this R&D process for the creating of the menu, and that's very collaborative. I also manage two sous chefs as well. So between all of us, we're quite collective, and I find that we like to pick each other's brains and we like to obviously utilize that. So it's definitely not like a one person job. It's definitely something that like my executive chef will come to me and be like, "Hey Mary, what do you think of this?" And I'll be like, "Hey, why don't you try this?" And we do tastings like constantly, and it's just something very important to have multiple people's opinions on everything. However, I do, because there's certain things that I specialize in, say it's chocolate work or sugar work, we do have a lot of separate projects outside of the restaurant, as well as like I build little showpieces for certain events and like certain giveaways to all of our guests. Like I'll build like Valentine's Day things. So those are usually all my own kind of projects. And it's nice to have that creative outlet to be able to showcase that, as well as with Tiffany and Co. I get to create things for them as well. So we like to obviously make sure that everyone has a bit of input into things, but usually between me and my chef and I, we try to obviously collaborate as much as possible.
Yeah. Do you have a favorite thing that you like to cook or create, rather, I
What's
should
my
say?
favorite thing to cook? That's a hard one. I would say, wow, that's a that's a very tricky one to say. Honestly, I really do like French classics, honestly. So I find that like even something as simple as macarons, things like that, I've always had a really like I love the patience that comes behind macaron making specifically. And then honestly, like chocolate work is something that I really do enjoy doing. So I find anything that involves chocolate work is something that I really enjoy. And even just like entremet making, like petit gâteaux, things that you would see in like a boutique, that's always been like something that I really do enjoy doing.
Yeah. Do you think you'll ever come back to Australia? I know you come a fair bit. You've got family here in Sydney,
Yeah.
but is New York home now? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, so at the moment, I would say New York is my home for a while longer. I mean, I would love the thought of coming back one day, when like things have, settled down for me a little bit. But I just know that I have so much going on for me in New York City. And even since coming back here, I have this adrenaline from the city, like this busy rush that I've created over there, and being used to the people and the dynamic of just such a fast-paced environment that I think I've become very accustomed to that. So I just find like with my industry and patisserie and the opportunities that I do have in New York City at the moment as an executive, I find that I still have so many more things that I want to tick off my list in my career growth. So I find I would love to come back to Sydney one day, but I do need to make sure that I do what I have to do first in New York. So I do plan to be there for a while longer for now.
Yeah, beautiful. And would
Yeah.
you say you're living your dream job at the moment, or where to from here?
Absolutely. I mean, when I first found out that I was going to be given this position, I pretty much put everything into it. Like to be given the opportunity to work at a two Michelin-star restaurant as well as become a manager there as well. Because like coming from Australia, because obviously it's a very different thing to be working for Michelin. I would say that that was my dream job to be able to be there. However, I'm a super competitive person, so I do like a challenge. So I do know, obviously, I don't like to get too comfortable at points. So as soon as I feel like, it's time for maybe a bit of reflection or like a what's next for me, I think it's endless at the moment. So as long as like I stay passionate about what I'm doing and I love what I do and that continues to grow with time and I'm constantly learning and evolving as a chef, I think that's the most important thing for me. And I know that like the opportunities that I want will definitely come my way. So I'm super excited for what's ahead for me.
Yeah, the sky is the limit, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Definitely.
for anyone thinking of studying patisserie with Le Cordon Bleu, what's the advice that you would give them?
I would say the biggest thing is being passionate. It's a skill and it's a job that can be hard. It's not the most easiest industry to be in because, there's certain things that some people can't like it like veers them off becoming a chef or even just being in the hospitality industry. So I think being passionate and really loving what you do because it's such a high pressure environment, I think that's the most important attribute you should be having because I mean, I started at such a young age and I've been doing this now for about over 12 years. So having like the same passion that I have and it's still growing more and more because I'm just evolving as a chef has become the biggest thing that keeps me going the whole time because chefs like it's not an easy environment and you will be pressured and you will be put like there's always different things that come with everything, but I think obviously making sure that you really do love what you do and really push yourself to challenge yourself is the biggest thing that I would say to be a chef in the industry.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mary. Well, that's all we have time for. So thank you very much for joining
Thank you.
us and safe travels back to New York. And we really look forward
Thank you so
to
much.
continue watching you and your journey unfold.
Thank you so much for that. I really appreciate being on today.
Thanks, Mary. Thank you for joining us on this episode of Mastery in the Making. If you found this discussion interesting and inspiring, don't forget to share, subscribe, or tell a friend. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.